call.
All right. Hello there, everyone, and thank you guys for joining our talk today on building and optimizing a website. So we're just going to give it a few more minutes for more people to show up. Currently, we only have the two of you in here right now. So if you'd like, feel free to introduce yourselves. You can speak to us about the business that you're here to represent, any of that.
I guess to kick it off, we could also do a bit of introduction as well. We are the Digital Service Squad. We're working with Digital Main Street of Kawartha Lakes. My name is Darren, and this is my associate Dylan. I'll let him introduce himself as well.
Yes, thank you, Darren. I'm Dylan. I'm the other half of the Digital Service Squad here in Kawartha Lakes, and we're always happy to be delivering some nice content like this for everyone. All right. 31.
We'll give a few more minutes for the other registered participants to join just before we get started up here, just to give them a chance to get in before it starts.
I can introduce myself if you'd like. I'm Lindsay. My husband owns a industrial recycling facility called Waste Logics. So it's located on Highway 35 South, kind of near the Hyundai dealership. So we've been kind of in the process of expanding and not necessarily doing, well, he does a lot of international and national business, but I like to get the name out more in the community and just kind of build on a website. So we were lucky enough to get the grant. So I've kind of been working on the content for the website. It's not up and running quite yet. We thought this would help. I am currently working from home with 2 young kids, so I'm gonna put it on mute and listen and do as best as I can.
Yeah, that sounds great. Thank you for that introduction, Lindsay. Yeah, we're hoping you can find some useful content in this slideshow for, like you said, building up that website, because we know it can be kind of a overwhelming process to go through, especially starting from no site as well. So yeah, we hope that we can provide some useful information for you today.
Thank you.
All right, I'm thinking we should start, maybe give it another minute to let anyone who may join get into the call, and then we can get started from there.
That sounds good.
Wyatt, I'm not sure if you want to do an introduction as well. If not, that's perfectly fine too. Okay, looks like it's rounding up to 3:35 now. So I guess with that, we can jump into this. I'll give a little bit of a heads up first as well. I'm sure that you would have gotten the notification when starting the Zoom, but we will be recording this. If you would like to view the video of this call at any point in the future, it will be uploaded to our YouTube channel. We can get you a link for that as well, just in case there's information here that you want to revisit at any point in the future. And with that, as we said, my name is Darren and my associate Dylan. We are the Digital Main Street Service Squad for Kawartha Lakes. And today we will just be going over how to build and optimize a website. So jumping right into it, we're going to begin with why it's important to build a website. So businesses need a main site for customers to go to because a website is what customers are often looking for when trying to find your brand online. So you can have social media and other channels of communication with customers, but new customers are almost always going to be looking for a website. The good thing about a website is it can be a one-stop spot site with all the information you need to get to your consumers. So information about your brand, information about what you sell, contact information so that they can reach out to you directly. You're going to want all of that on your site so that a consumer only needs to go to one spot to get it all. You can also sell directly on your site. So whether you're selling products or services, you can set up an e-commerce platform on your site to sell a catalog of products. You can do bookings for your services. And it's really good, especially nowadays with the pandemic going on. Some consumers aren't going to be comfortable with going out in public, either to do shopping or whatnot. So a lot of people are shifting towards online purchases, and it's really good to take advantage of that and get that extra stream of revenue that you may be missing if you don't start selling online, if that is in line with what your brand is. It also helps customers find your business because when they're say they're Googling your brand, sometimes the Facebook, Instagram links, they can get lost in the fray of Google links that pop up. But if they see a website for it, it'll be more likely to catch their eye. They'll be more likely to actually visit it as well, because it adds that layer of professionalism and credibility if you do have the site, and will increase the chance that someone will find it. It is also a good way to link all your channels together. So like I said earlier, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever other platforms you are on, you can link those to your main site so that people can branch off from your site to those channels when they may have not found those without looking for them directly. Now they can go from your site and start following all your other channels if they're inclined to do so. So first step with setting up a website is you're going to need to pick a hosting site. Now, you can start from scratch if you are good at coding, but coding is an in-depth and pretty complicated process. So it's a lot easier to go with a hosting site if you're not familiar with it. So hosting sites, basically, they let you pay for a plan to utilize their site to host your web page. And when you're picking a hosting site, the main things you're going to want to look for are their features that they have. So that includes, how many pages you can add to the site, if they have photo and video integration and stuff like that. You're going to want to make sure that the features they offer are in line with what you need. You're also going to want to look at pricing for the plans. So a lot of different hosts have different options for pricing, increasing in price as they add more features and usability. You want to look at the pricing of all the plans that they offer and make sure that it's in line with your budget, because you don't want to overspend on the website, especially if you're not going to be utilizing everything that they're charging you for. So you want to make sure that the price is something that you can pay for and that you should be paying for. Next, you're going to look at ease of use. If you're picking a hosting site, typically you're not going to know a whole lot about the coding side of it. So you're going to want to make sure that it's easy for you to build up the site. Hosting sites often offer templates that you can utilize that break down into sections the different information you're going to be putting in. So that offers a level of ease of use for you, but you want to make sure that it's something that's not too complicated to the point that it's either going to take too much time to create, or you're not going to be able to go back and edit it once it's done because it's just too complicated. That's leading in next to customizability and content management systems. You want to make sure that there is a good level of customizability when creating the sites, because they will offer templates, but sometimes you want to alter them to be more tailored to your brand, tailored to a certain look. Um, some sites, they have different sections to put a photo, different sections to put text, but they're locked in place. Sometimes you want to shift them around a little bit and completely customize the page. Same with content management systems. A lot of this has to do with being able to go back and edit the site. Once you have it published, you don't want that to be the final product. You're going to want to be continually updating your site and making sure that a hosting site has a content management system that allows you to easily do that. It's very important. Another aspect of content management can be collaborations as well. Say you and another person or a team of people are all working on the site together. You want to make sure it's easy to have everyone be able to edit the site without there being any hiccups or complications. You also want to look into integrations with third-party apps and sites. For example, Google reviews, a booking platform or something like that. You want to make sure that you can properly integrate them into your site. Hopefully you can add them in as a widget or something like that, embedded into the site rather than having a link. But you want to make sure that any third-party apps that you're going to be using will be compatible with the site. And finally, you're going to want to make sure the aesthetic is good. You want to make sure your site looks good. You want to make sure it can fit in with your brand well. So if you have a certain amount or certain color palette in your logo, you want to make sure that you can then utilize that in your site. You want to make sure the templates look good, because while a site needs to be functional, you also want it to be aesthetically pleasing so that people want to continue using it. Next, we're going to go into the steps of actually creating the site. So when you pick a hosting site, there will be a lot of themes and templates that you can choose from. Look through them, look through the available ones that are available according to the plan that you go with, and pick whichever one speaks to you the most, what you think fits with the brand, which one you like the look of, and take a look at what it offers as far as customizability and different elements. And then next, you're going to want to brainstorm what pages you're going to want to add to the site. So a lot of sites, especially if you're doing online shopping, they'll have the main homepage and then the shopping page, about us page, which allows you to add information about both you and your brand, contact us page that allows you or allows rather the customer a direct line of contact with you, a blog, a booking page. You just want to make sure what pages you're going to want to add to the site beforehand so that you're not missing out on them when you're creating it. And then next, you're going to create those individual pages. So website builders have options to add pages and rearrange what order they're in. You're just going to want to go in, add them all, pick the format of each page, and then start inputting the necessary information. That's step 4. And that's going to go across the board of the entire website. So typically website builders have different sections in different areas to input information. Look at the design of the areas and decide what kind of information you want there, and then just input it. Next, you're going to want to add photos and videos. Again, the website templates will often have spots that you can add them in, or they'll allow you to add in images on top of what they already offer for it. So add in any photos and videos you want. With this, remember that there's often a limit with how much photo and video memory you can utilize. So a certain amount of megabytes or gigabytes. So try to keep the file size a bit down, like as low as you can without compromising the quality of the photos and videos, because then you're less likely to reach that max limit, and it'll also help with the speed of your site. Next, you're going to want to customize the color palette and the fonts. So often templates will have base colors that you can switch out. Like I said earlier, you're likely going to want to have them in line with your brand, your logo, whatever color palettes you typically use for those, and customize the fonts as well. Default fonts are fairly clean, but the problem with default fonts is a lot of people recognize them as default fonts. So typically you're going to want to change it. Keep the fonts clean and simple as well. Don't add in a bunch of cursive fonts and fancy fonts and whatnot. Make sure that they're clean and basic, because that affects usability. Someone may not be able to read a script font rather than a type font. So make sure that it's usable and still professional and clean looking. Next, if it's applicable, set up e-commerce if you're wanting to do an online shop. Again, website builders, in your dashboard, they will allow you to set those up. Sometimes they integrate third-party apps like Square and whatnot, and PayPal and stuff like that. Just set up all of your e-commerce, set up your online shop by adding your products to the catalog and everything like that. Actually, if you are interested in setting up e-commerce and haven't started a website just yet, Digital Main Street does offer a Shop Here program where they will get you set up with the Shopify website and take care of all of the website design and get the e-commerce ready to go for you for free. You just have to worry about the payments for the plans of whichever host. Next, you're going to just want to format all the elements. This is kind of just finishing touches. Once you have all the information and put it in your website, just touch it all up. Make sure everything's aligned properly, everything's looking good and meshed well together. Next, you're going to want to pick a domain name. So domain names are your www address. So for example, www.google.ca. You're going to want to choose a simple domain. Typically, it'll be www.brandname.ca. For example, if it was Adidas, it would just be adidas.ca. You want to make sure the name is actually available, because sometimes people will have ownership over that domain with your brand name in it. Perhaps if it's someone who owns your brand name's domain or owns it in quotations, you can reach out to them if they have a contact number on their site and see if they're still utilizing it. Some people sometimes have sites with domain names that they own that they don't utilize anymore. But if that's not an option, you can just switch up the domain a little bit. So with the Adidas example, if adidas.ca was taken, you could change it to adidasshop.ca or adidasclothing.ca or something like that. So next, you're going to want to pick a domain name host. Some examples of these hosts are GoDaddy, Google Domains, domain.com, and whatnot. With these, you're going to want to first check the website builder and see which hosts are compatible with them, because you don't want to pay for a domain name with a specific host that you later find out you can't integrate with your site. So typically, domain name hosts, they're going to offer less they're going to be less different from each other than site hosts will be. So just go whichever one you think has the better price and better features to it, just by looking at kind of the top ones to go with. Next, you're just going to purchase those domain rights after you've made sure everything is clear with it being available and you've gotten the pricing plan that you want. Typically, you're going to pay a certain fee to have the domain for a year, and then it renews after that year's done. Just going to purchase them. And then next, go back to your site builder and link the domain name with it. There will be an option in the dashboard to link a domain, and then it'll allow you to go back to the other domain host, use your account with that to link it to your new site. Finally, once everything's done, you're going to worry about publishing the site. So what you're going to want to do is look over your whole site, look over every page, all the information, every photo, video, any links and whatnot, and make sure everything is in order. There's no information that doesn't need to be there, and make sure you're not missing any information either. So make sure everything is in order, correct any typos and errors you might see, and make any changes you feel are necessary. If you need to add information or take any away, feel free to do that if you feel that it is necessary. However, don't add information just for the sake of adding information. You're only going to want to add relevant information, because that helps people find your site, and it helps make sure that there's no wasted space there too. And then finally, once that's all done, you can publish it. And remember as well, you can and should edit after publishing. Again, with the same thing with making any changes that are necessary. Don't add any information you don't feel needs to be there. It's always good to add in information, but so long as it's relevant. But remember that after you published it. It doesn't mean that the site is completely done and it's just out there as is. You can always go back, make any changes you need to make, and make sure that all is completely updated.
So yes, here's actually ways that you can find areas that you can target specifically to work on your website. For example, there are tools like website.grader or SEMrush. These tools will allow you to see a more technical view of how your website is actually performing. So for example, Website Grader will take you through a search engine optimization score, a mobile usability score, a security score, those sorts of things. And from there, you can understand if your site is lacking in a certain area. Like for example, you've designed it for a desktop layout and that just doesn't translate into a mobile layout. That's a common issue and something that should ideally be changed with the majority of searches now happening in a mobile environment. So for example, using SEMrush, you could then find issues with your search engine optimization that you're currently having that are holding back your website from actually ranking well in searches. That overall will hold you back from reaching out to your potential customers. So these tools can most definitely help in aiding to actually improve your website once it's been built. So yes, let's continue on. So now, for example, one optimization that is key is to actually optimize the speed of your website. When someone clicks on a link and nothing loads within the first 5 seconds, even less than that, really, they're going to click away. So the idea is to have your website run as fast as possible so that when people are clicking onto it, they don't have to sit and wait and potentially go away. So ways you can work on actually optimizing that speed would be to keep it as clutterless as possible. So make sure that your pages are as to the point as they need to be with nothing in addition, but also not lacking any information. This is a little bit of a delicate line to straddle, but once you actually have that done down through a series of, say, test pages that you've worked on, you can actually have your website performing great for you. Using compressed photos is another great option. So for example, instead of uploading PNG files, use JPEGs. One piece that I would also recommend with your photos would be to either make use of a scalable image format. So that would be something like an SVG. This will go into actually optimizing your website for a mobile environment while keeping speed still as a top priority. These scalable images are just able to go into different sizes without losing any quality, which is nice for when you're designing it in one format, but users are using it in multiple different formats. Just a way to catch all. So beyond this, make sure that you keep your animations simple and small in quantity. Animations take up a lot of that memory that Darren had mentioned earlier, and that is a finite resource that you'll have for your website. So being able to use that as wisely as possible is definitely a great way to start off. And then in addition, keep those fonts simple. Fonts also contain a file size with them. So whenever you have very, very large font file sizes on your website, there we go, it can affect your load speed on your pages, which can affect how often your customers will actually read through your content. So we're going to find out some more steps on optimization. Let's continue on. So now we're into optimizing the usability. So usability and accessibility are two big features that your website should actually conform to. If your users cannot actually access your website or actually use it, you're not going to be able to actually have your users make any, your website won't have any value for your users. There we are. So this comes down to making sure that your link titles are clear, and that includes the font colors and the actual fonts used. As for example, if you have two colors that are not very visible on top of each other, you can't really read it. An example of this could be something like a dark blue text on a black background. Not very nice to the eye. Takes a while to actually have it pop out, and in that time you can lose your customers. So another feature that is nice to have is to have translators. This would be to translate your text into any language that your business can actually operate in. There's services online that you could actually make use of to do this. DeepL is an example of this, where they will actually translate languages on the spot for you using, I believe, deep learning of some sort. So some fancy computer programming is went into making sure that that translator can work for various amount of languages. So beyond that, though, you're going to want to make sure that you have a clear format and order for your website. So this means when you have a page that is discussing, say, how to contact your business, that page shouldn't be filled with information about, say, a past company picnic. That's not really fitting the format. It's not exactly on point for what that page should have. And that's an example of a usability feature that should be covered while you're building it, but something to always make sure that you're maintaining as you're going forward. So again, keep this simple. You don't want to have it too long, too in-depth, something that your customers will get just overwhelmed with information. As when that happens, they're less likely to actually continue on throughout either the sale process or through your website to learn more about your business. So we're going to be continuing on here. So now this is the next big piece, search engine optimization and how to optimize that. So there's a number of ways that you can actually optimize your search engine optimization. These all have different effects, but here are some examples of ways that you can work on making that SEO all the more better for your website. So websites will have alt tags. Alt tags go into that accessibility and usability feature. They're often used actually for, say, like a blind individual to still see what is on the screen without actually seeing it through a screen reader. Those alt tags, though, they can contain information that can be actually searched for through a search engine. So when you actually make use of those alt tags, not only does it help out for accessibility reasons, it helps out for making sure that your website can rank better. Don't just jam multiple words in there, because for one, that isn't really what they're for. Use a descriptive sentence about the image that has those keywords in there. That's a little bit different than just putting the keywords there, but it works a lot better. So now the next piece is to make sure that your website is updated regularly. So you have fresh content that's actually prescient to what your customers are going to be looking for. So the other piece with updating it regularly is that you'll have more articles that can be searched through in order to get those keywords brought up. So keywords, that's the next section we're going to be talking about here. They are one of the main features that you're going to want to work on for your search engine optimization, just because keywords are things that are actually sought after by the search engines when they're compiling their whole database of websites that you can search through. For example, when Google has their list of searchable websites, they go through with keywords. So using your keywords here, this is how it can be brought up through searching up. For instance, if you're looking for dog treats, it will bring you to websites that mention dog treats and not something that is completely unrelated. So using keywords in your text section is always key, because having those in there can allow users to, can allow the search engines to actually see the content that is on your website before users get there, to make sure that it's presenting the proper content to the users. And clickable links are also part of your keywords, and they go in with linking to other places. So instead of just having click here, which is pretty generic, you can use a keyword in here that will allow your customers to click away and go to where they're trying to get to. So this is back to another one of those tools that we had mentioned earlier, Website Grader and SEMrush, SEOsitecheckup.com. It has a very user-friendly layout that you can actually make use of when checking out your current SEO status. So that will give you suggestions on things that are currently not working out, errors that are occurring, and give you suggestions on ways that you can improve your current standing. So now the last piece that I'm going to talk about today in search engine optimization is backlinks. So this is when you have a link from your website onto another website, that would be a backlink for that other website. This goes in hand with when a website has a link to your website, that is a backlink. So these are used for trust scores, essentially, in a search engine ranking. If your website is deemed to be more trustworthy than another website, it should get ranked higher than that other website. But you need to have other websites that trust the content on your website for that to actually work. It's sort of like a self-feeding loop, but you still have to have somewhere to start. So these come from web pages specifically and not social media. If it were from social media, it would be a lot easier to just start stuffing backlinks into your posts. Would be nice to do, but unfortunately, it's not possible. So instead, you'll actually have to get your articles, for instance, if you were to go that way, or your blog posts, your information on your website shared onto another website through a link in order to get a backlink generated. But once those are coming along, it will continue to feed into your website's performance. And yeah, that's what we have for SEO, and we're continuing on. So now this is just moving forward, what all you can be doing after you've had it published. So after publishing, use your site regularly to make sure that it's still optimized. Things can break. Like for instance, if you are using apps from a website builder, those apps can break, and sometimes that'll affect the actual usability. So actually checking in once in a while is a good strategy to take. Another thing to do is to feel free to make changes. A good way to do this is to have a test sort of system, like an A, B, and then figure out which of those two versions performs better. And then from there, you actually have actionable information. Beyond that, listen to your customer complaints and act accordingly. Actually understand where your customers are having issues with your website. While it may seem wonderful to you, that is just your own perspective, and we don't always have everyone's ideas. So beyond this, be sure to always update with new and relevant information. So make sure that information, as I said, is actually prescient to what your customers need. They're coming to your website for a reason. Make sure to give them that reason. And do not add info to the site for the sake of just adding info. So again, when you're actually making a post for your website, make sure it is useful information. This goes back to keeping it simple, just make sure what is there is what is needed. Yeah. All right. Is there any questions from our wonderful viewers today? We are happy to help you out. In addition, after this call, we are always available for making appointments. Currently, if you go to our website with the City of Kawartha Lakes, I'll just drop it in the chat for a link. You are able to send us an email, and we'll be able to set up an appointment with you.
Right, and just also to reiterate, like I said at the start of the call, if you ever want to go back and look at this information, again, we will have it up on our YouTube channel, which we can send you a link to once the video's up. It also will have the database of all of our previous webinars that we've held, and any future ones will be going up there as well. And speaking of future ones, Thursdays at 3:30 are the time that we hold webinars. We actually have webinars for the next 3 weeks as well. Same place that you signed up for this one, you can sign up there too, and you can find that through our website as well. So I guess with that, we can do another call for questions if there are any. All right, seems like that will be it. So thank you so much for joining our seminar. We're glad that you were able to take some time out of your busy days today to be with us. We hope that we were able to provide some useful information to you. And just like Dylan said, if at any point you'd like to set up a consultation with us where we can go more in depth about expanding your online presence, even beyond websites, we can talk about social media and whatnot, just stuff like that, then we can get something set up to have one-on-one consultations with you. So that will be it for today. Oh, sorry, Lindsay, were you wanting to say something?
No, I was just gonna say thank you, and then my kids started yelling.
Okay. Well, you're very welcome, and thank you so much for joining us today as well.
Okay, thanks.
All right, so I'm going to just end the call now. Stop sharing here.
Great.